Hey there folks, Redshirts here with a first look on the game Shattered Heaven. For those of you who haven't heard of Shattered Heaven is a single player deck building RPG game with roguelike and heavy narrative elements in it, which will enter early access the 19th of April of 2023 and should be out completely on the 31st of May of this same year. We'll just have a quick look on what the game's like in my experience so far, because I've had a early access to the demo of the game. So let's jump right in and see what it's like.
Where memories of old still sing. Delham, ever untamed and never bound. Flamen, hearth of steel and spires. And our home, born from thunder and storms.
In Shattered Heaven, the players find themselves wrapped up in a war as three different player characters that make up the party. Ndora, Magni, and Ishana fight together side by side in different dungeons that are slightly different every time they are entered, hence the roguelike situation. This nameless world that these three warriors live in has gone without a god for a long time, who has apparently died or fallen, which started the decay of the world. And every person dies in this world at the end when they reach the age of 40. The game is very narratively driven and features many cutscenes between the main characters as well as lots of other characters they meet. A great time for the single-player story-based gamers out there. During the game, you explore dungeons that change every time you enter them. You get an unexplored number of chambers that you move through one by clicking the tiles that are there, going from empty room to treasure location, traps, merchants, and, of course, combat. The combat is a turn-based RPG system that uses three different decks, one for each character, that make up the actions that the characters can do. A base deck is created by you when you enter the dungeon, and along the way you add new cards, destroy or sacrifice some, and create a completely different fighting experience every time you go through these dungeons. Which is also to say that even though every character has their own fighting styles and strengths and weaknesses, you can also edit these by adding different cards and creating an entirely different way of fighting with these specific characters. Normally, Ndora is your typical fast warrior that mainly focuses on attacking, while Magni is massively armored to protect himself and teammates. Ishana, however, is able to attack to a lesser degree herself, but is able to summon a dark entity that uses Thirst, a resource you can build up with your other cards, for much stronger attacks at the cost of Ishana herself at some point. The game's art style looks very nice and clean, especially during cutscenes, conversations and battle. This is obvious to see for everybody. It's also not massively demanding for your PC, so it should run on loads on different setups, so don't worry there. The dungeons themselves have a much simpler look to them. Not to say they don't look good, but the movement of the character is kept to a very simple bouncing from one room tile to the other. This looks to be done on purpose, but personally I felt that they could have done a bit more to spice this part up just a little bit. The look of the tiles themselves is pretty nice though, also showing some certain icons on there to once they've been explored to show you what these rooms were or still are. All in all, the game is great looking and is very suited for the roguelike deck building players out there. The RPG combat style suits the game very well, but might seem repetitive at times if you're not into tweaking the deck to the max, as some people might be. The dark aesthetics of the game might not also be everyone's cup of tea, but it should not be a reason, in my opinion, to shy away from it if any other part seems interesting. The game is very well written, has a very thought out story, and looks very clean, and honestly is worth a shot once it is out from a lot of players. This was Redshirts with a first look on Shattered Heaven. Hope you also had a better look at the game, and I will see you all next time.